Hey, White Sox fans, it is the Nice Podcast, Southside Sox Mothership Podcast, number 69. And we are celebrating phase two, second week of, for us, I guess it's the second week of Soxivus. A week ago, we talked about our complaints, right? Our grievances. We aired grievances, and then we podcasted about those grievances. And there was much rejoicing, except then by the time we were done, the sobering realization set in that we're still White Sox fans. And I'm not sure that we're going to be a World Series team in 2022. We don't know if there's going to be a season in 2022. Anyway, it's time for Feats of Strength. As this is explained to me, we do not have Tommy Barbee, the mastermind of our Soxivus celebrations, which, by the way, may take us all the way to actual Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, pagan Christmas, whatever, because we seem to be adding more than the actual like two official whatever Festivus, Soxivus stuff. But we'll talk about that at the end of the podcast. Have with me Zach Hayes, who is going to lead us off with a very interesting feat of strength. In the second half, Joe will hop on and talk about his particular feat of strength and how he sees things wrangling out, maybe closest to reality, actually. And we'll also interpret everyone else's, talk about them a little bit, because we got some time. I think we had 9 total entries, so we got time to talk about each. And yeah, at the end, we will talk about maybe what is still to come as we celebrate this very extended Soxivus. Hey, welcome, Zach. Hey, Joe. Good to have you guys.
Great to be here.
Hello.
Happy Soxivus. I'm glad that you celebrate. It's good to know we all can sort of share the same faith in this way. Speaking of faith, Zach Hayes, the first entry. So you got to lead off our feats of strength. And I would argue the most entertaining, the most creative. Please, an explanation of exactly what goes on in your envisioned feat of strength as Tony is challenged by, it seems like maybe the coaching staff itself.
Yeah, so I had just been having a conversation with someone about the Tanakh, the Old Testament and all that, specifically the story of King David, and the part where Saul, in order to let him marry his daughter, requires that he bring him 200 Philistine foreskins to seal the deal. So my mind was on the book of Samuel, as it is, after those things. And that's when the prompt to do, feats of strength came on through the Slack channel. And so, moment of inspiration, what can I say? I have a biblical story based on the tale of Absalom, son of King David, who in this case is bench coach Miguel Cairo, who kind of strikes me as a potential logical predecessor. The idea here is that the Sox hire from within, not outside. Outside candidates aren't really a thing right now under Jerry Reinsdorf. So there's going to be some, grand internal battle, which can only be framed by making a biblical allegory of King David and all of his sons slaughtering each other, right? So you have Miguel Cairo, who first he takes care of Daryl Boston by inviting him out to, get drunk and shear some sheep, which is as one does in the Tanakh, sure. I guess. And, he says, all right, guys, smite him. And he smites him. And so Daryl Boston is not your next manager, like it or not. Cairo comes back a while later. His big rival is in the book of Samuel, it is Joab. But, I'll call him Joab McEwing here. It's spelled like Job. Mm-hmm. Joe Bluth, I don't know. So Joe McEwing here is his big rival, and they have all of these, there's a barley field that gets set on fire. There's a real nastiness going on here. Ultimately, there is a big battle, and Miguel Cairo gets his head stuck in a bat rack, not an oak tree, as happens to Absalom in the biblical story. And he is the one who gets smote in the end. And good old Joe McEwing winds up as the next manager and successor to King Tony the Russa. He's been interviewed, kind of makes sense. There's going to be anyone coming from within.
Yeah, I mean, I like that there is actual, not that this is unique in yours of the nine or so, but actual murder with
Yes,
sort of the
it does
assistance
happen.
of a bat rack. And so, okay, maybe the thing that's assumed, or I'm far from old, new, or anywhere in between Testament scholar, but okay, so how does it end up then that is yours sort of a more peaceable feat of strength in that when Tony is ready to be gone, that's when Joab takes over? Or has something happened to Tony before even your scene begins? Has he already been smitten or set on fire or something? Give me that. In the context of Tony, how does this work?
Well, the subtext is also that King David knows that one of his children is going to replace him and stuff like that.
Okay.
So there's a lot of
Okay.
tension going on here, and
Okay.
same thing that happened with him and Saul. So Tony, there's a lot of paranoia happening. He doesn't want to go. He's not going to go anytime
Okay.
soon. But if somebody steps up and says, "I am king now," and I don't know, maybe Rick Hahn is like God in this case or something like that, and he says, "Yeah, it's your time. Like, come on," or maybe it's Jerry. I don't know. I didn't think the allegory that far through.
Oh no, I know. I want to sort of fill in the corners here.
I guess you could say it's peaceable in some ways. I kind of left it open-ended like that.
Yeah.
I mean, if Tony goes, he's going to go on his own accord, or at least they're going to frame it that way. So
yeah, they did it with Robin Ventura, who might have just slept through his whole firing or whatever. So yeah, they would do it with Tony as well, being older and such. Yeah, no, my interpretation reading was that okay, Tony was. This could be a few years from now. It could be already. He could already be gone. But yeah, in some way, it was to whatever degree bloodless. You had enough blood. I mean, you had the barley fields on fire. Poor Daryl Boston, he took it. And geez, Cairo,
how
wow.
graphic of a word is smite/smote? That's what I'm not,
all right.
What are the implications there?
Again, your own imagination depends on, the level of R-rated movies that impacted you as a preteen, subject to whatever interpretation. Let's run through a few people who aren't here. We're just going to go in the batting order of the article. I'm going to run through them and then we'll have a little discussion before we take our break. Adrian Serrano wants to make it clear, coming out of his feat of strength, he did not kill Southpaw, the mascot. He's the medium. He's reporting. Of course, speaking of graphic, Adrian's feat of strength, rather graphic. There's, I think, pieces being sliced off and somebody's getting split. I think Southpaw gets split into it's rough. And I think the conclusion of Adrian's is that Tony will not go. Tony has vanquished whatever. He has won the feat of strength. Next up, Keelan came with simple, classic Jim Leyland in chain smoking, in the showers, dropping his towel. A lot of directions you can go with that. We only got a couple paragraphs. We don't really know where else that was going to go, but I think the bottom line is a guy nearly as old as Tony. I don't think Jim Leland's older, but basically the same age as Tony. He's going to take over. Sort of makes sense. Probably still somehow could be or is a friend of Jerry Reinsdorf. Who knows? And Trooper Galactus came in with a Nugenics fueled fury from Frank Thomas, seizing control from Tony La Russa, and banded together with Frank Menachino or Ethan Katz, I guess, to create. I don't know if there's a Marvel multiverse that's coming out of this or not, but those are the three after Zach. So we got the Southpaw murder, Jim Leyland just sauntering in, and Frank Thomas taking over probably with a huge Captain Caveman club. Thoughts, fellas?
These are some great outcomes. Oh my goodness.
Yes, I was
Southpaw murdered. Is that a great outcome?
Joe. Yeah, Joe's more of a Ribby and rhubarb guy. Sorry, Southpaw.
Yes, I'm a big fan of the Frank Thomas one personally. I enjoy adding in the humor to those commercials that we've seen so many times. I am interested in seeing maybe a different side of Frank Thomas that we maybe haven't seen as much of. So Yes, certainly props to Trooper for that one. And I like the reference to the fact that it's okay to hit 300 and hit home runs that Trooper had touched on in his brief write-up. That was a very good inclusion. And that's something that, of course, Frank Thomas knew how to do very well.
I don't know if I don't know how it parted. I want to say it didn't part good for Jim Leyland with the White Sox. I want to say he felt like he was in line for something that he didn't get. I don't really remember the story. It's one White Sox story. I don't really know. But Zach, tell me this. Would Jim Leyland have been a better hire than Tony La Russa? Obviously, the answer is neither would be good hires. But just to put you on the spot here, who would have been a better hire a year ago?
The answer is Jim Leyland. But can I tell you a Jim Leyland story real quick?
Oh God, please. We got time to fill.
Back in 2017, I was at a World Baseball Classic game at Dodger Stadium with some friends from school. I think it was 2017. Yeah, it was 2017. And great time. And it was the USA versus Japan in the semifinals. And Jim Leyland was managing Team USA at that point. And it was a great time, fantastic game. Nate Jones gave up the only run for Team USA. As he did. I've said that a few times now. And it was, again, a fantastic time. And I remember this is a college team trip, and I'm on the bus the next day, and I'm looking at the highlights, and I see a press conference in which Jim Leyland walks out to the presser, and he sits down, and completely unprompted, before anybody had said anything, he says, "We're here to make America great again." I'm like, Jim, can I enjoy something? Can I enjoy something for maybe half a day? So maybe at least Tony keeps his mouth shut sometimes.
Yeah.
I'll say that. I'll say that much. That's a lose-lose, but take that as you will.
Yes. He kept his secret alliance and allegiance is with Adam Eaton under wraps this year. And I guess that's something we can credit Tony La Russa for. Okay, way to go, Jim Leyland. Okay, next. All right, let's take a break. We're going to address maybe the second half of these feats of strength essays. Very creative work on Southside Sox. Hopefully you've already read the story. If not, feel free to pause, check it out. There's just going to be a minute of commercials anyway. So come on back after you've read the story. And if you've read it already, pick your favorite among the second half, because there's a bunch of really good ones as well. We'll be back in just a minute. White Sox fans, my name is Brett Ballantini. Don't ever introduce myself. This is just assumed. You should know who I am. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. I am hosting Southside Sox Mothership Podcast 69 with my good friends, Zach Hayes, and of course, Super Joseph Resis. He's working out of the Indianapolis field office. Good to have him with us. He usually shows up for these. Thank goodness. Because we need it. We need some voices here. We've already heard from Zach Hayes about his extremely entertaining, biblical, graphic feat of strength, wherein apparently Joab McEwing at some point, maybe immediately, wouldn't be the worst thing, immediately takes over for Tony La Russa. I'm sort of digging this feat of strength. But in the second half, we will take the bottom half of the order. We'll take it in order. And again, before we get to Joe, let's just summarize the next couple on our list. Leigh Allan, as he is wont to do, humorous Leigh, the senior of our staff, has decided that a Clydesdale should take over for Tony La Russa. Now, we do not get any details about how Tony is trampled or kicked or sat on or run off. We don't really know the details of the feat of strength. We just know the Clydesdale takes over. And Leigh provides some pretty, I guess, sensible reasons why that would be a good idea. And pitching coach, a hen who, in very much of like a Bill Veeck back in the day, where fans would hold up signs to tell the manager the next move to do, the chicken is going to peck at which relief pitcher should come in next. And sometimes I got to admit, it doesn't seem far off from what Tony was doing last year. Coming up after that, Tommy Barbee, the man behind our Soxivus celebration. He is absent here, so he cannot explain himself. But I want to say Tommy took it pretty straight. I don't think there was any blood involved at all. He just said, really, a local guy, and in this case, local guy from Indiana, Lloyd McClendon, should take over for Tony La Russa because he's got plenty of red ass, just like apparently we all love about Tony. And in fact, Lloyd McClendon seems unhinged enough to take it maybe a couple steps farther than maybe Tony La Russa ever did. I mean, Tony La Russa picked up third base and chucked it once. Lloyd McClendon just stole first base once. So if we want crazy, Tommy's got us taken care of because Lloyd McClendon will bring the crazy. Guys, thoughts on livestock or even Lloyd McClendon conquering Tony La Russa in a feat of strength? I mean, a polite pause is fair here, but
I've done a lot of yammering. I'm letting Joe take the lead.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, sure. Go after. Yeah, McClendon. I like the idea. You kindly pointed out that he is the local guy from Indiana. I mean, that's a very good. That works in his favor for me. And yeah, the White Sox have had quite a history lately of drafting players from there. Even this year's first round pick. So, yeah, I like that outcome very much, and yes, so much creativity here. It is difficult to unpack all of it, but yes, that was certainly one of my favorite write-ups as I was going through it.
Joe, before I let you step up to the plate to explain your own feat of strength, I'm going to throw it again to Zach and put him on the spot. Tell me this, Zach. You're just the guy I'm going to go to give me like a thumbs up or thumbs down on these. The White Sox have had a lot of bad managers in their history. They haven't had a ton of managers, but given percentage-wise, not really great. Haven't really generated success like maybe other teams have. And maybe you're of the thinking that it doesn't even matter anyway. But in that thought, would a completely random generated decision automaton or livestock in the dugout be better than some White Sox managers or Major League Baseball managers out there?
Yeah, I invite you and any listeners to go to the Wikipedia page for non-human electoral candidates. I'm there right now. There's some great stuff on here. And Yo-Yo the Billy Goat back in 1922 was elected a city councilor in Fortaleza, Brazil. An Ecuadorian foot powder company once advertised a product and put it in the election and it got elected mayor. Numerous cats across the United States have been elected mayors and to other various local governmental positions. So go to this page and then tell me that a horse or a hen or some kind of early machine learning robot type thing, I don't know, would not produce, it would be at least an even draw.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the short answer is no, totally feasible. Totally feasible.
Yeah. Robby, when you read Robby the Recapper, our automatonic recapper, he doesn't seem to have a great grasp of baseball, but I'm pretty confident that Robby the Recapper would have, at least, as you say, Zach, matched Tony's performance this year. And I'm going to say probably would have outdone it because he's getting, again, AI, it gets, wise. We haven't seen it from Robby, but it gets wiser as time goes on. So I'm going to guess being in there every single game, being in the dugout would allow the artificial intelligence, I think, to grow by leaps and bounds and show growth that I'm not sure Tony did. I guess he did by the end of the season have a better general grasp of the rules. We didn't see because the playoffs were so short for the White Sox. We didn't see if he had adjusted to recognizing that some of the nuances of the rule changes from regular season to playoffs. So we didn't really get to test him there, but he didn't blow anything in that sense, I don't think. So maybe he, like artificial intelligence, maybe Tony La Russa learned as he went. He learned to call Uber, I suppose. As far as we know, we don't know yet. Okay, Joe, with that as an introduction, you're batting seventh in this lineup. And you have gone a route that actually the White Sox wanted to do pre-Robin Ventura. They asked Paul Konerko to be a player manager, not requiring a feat of strength to do it. He didn't have to murder Ozzie. He had Ozzie just murdered himself and left out. But did ask Paul Konerko to be player manager. And Paul Konerko said, no. But you've taken a very interesting wrinkle, and it could well be, listen, everybody's my best friend here, and all of the feats of strength are phenomenal, including Zach Hayes's. But this could well be, it could be my favorite, Joe. Please explain yourself.
All right, great. Yes, I was going to say it's kind of tough to follow up on the rest of these, but yes, I really, my least favorite thing perhaps that happened throughout the course of this year was the whole saga with Yermin Mercedes, with what happened in Minnesota with the 3-0 count, and then what happened in the coming days as far as Russa. At first, it appeared as though like he may have welcomed it, just judging from the fact that when you're watching the game live and you're enjoying this blowout win over a divisional opponent, and you're running up the score on them on the road, and there's a home run hit on a 3-0 count. I watching that live, I thought like, oh my goodness, did Tony La Russa like give him the green light on that? Like I kind of assumed that he did, but basically afterward we would learn that it was the exact opposite. Really, that was my least favorite thing, at least that La Russa did specifically during the course of the season, was to clearly like condemn his own player for doing something as innocent as swinging on a 3-0 count when the other team had stopped trying. That inspired really this write-up for me. I believe that Tim Anderson really has a very nice spark that he adds to the team. We saw it multiple times throughout this season, which is that like the team really isn't the same having when he's out on the injured list versus when he's in the game and helping the team out. And I enjoy the idea of like the whole like political debate vibe for this, and for presidential elections, there are usually debates on the economy, social issues, foreign policy. They talk about various different issues, but in this particular case, his ability to stand up for the White Sox players was just so superior to that of Tony La Russa that they just decided to cancel all of the other rounds.
Yeah, I like that part of it, Joe. That the first battle, the first feat of strength was such a runaway that the rest of the team just said, forget it. Tim, you're a guy. That's a major vanquishing. Whether Tim was like the number one seed going into it all in the first place, he might have been, him or Jose, I suppose. But that he trounced Tony so resoundingly without any details. We don't know if there's any bloodshed or anything, that they just said, okay, forget it. Tim, you got the gig. It's like he pulled the sword out of the stone. I like that.
Good. I'm glad. And it was not my intent to have any blood in it. I could go into some more detail, but I wasn't into the whole violence thing. I have to have some more calm ones mixed in there, I think.
Again, Adrian Serrano he more than made up for everybody else's perhaps lack of gore or just presumed gore. And he, again, wants to make it very clear. He did not kill Southpaw. He did not kill Southpaw. Zach, let me throw it to you. Among the White Sox in the dugout, Joe chose Tim Anderson as the guy who would be able to take a player manager role on. Do you see it that way? Do you see other guys on the team that would be able to do as good or better job in that role? Understanding that it's unlikely to happen outside of the feats of strength world. But if it had to be, or if Tony really did or does snooze through these games, who's running the show? Who would be the most sense in your mind to run the show as a player?
I think I'm mostly in agreement with Joe here, but I think the natural answer is a Tim Jose co-managership of some kind, and you probably have let's let Liam Hendricks run the pitching staff. I would say, or, let's get some kind of a we won't call it the college of coaches, but we'll go something by committee. We'll have something a little bit communistic here.
Yeah, we've got, and then you're right. You've got Abreu, who's like going to be chill. He's going to be the one everybody respects, like the grandfather type character. Apparently, that's the direction the White Sox go these days with their picks. And then you've got Tim, who's never going to. Jose's going to have to tell him to be quiet because he's never going to stop talking. He already doesn't stop talking, and he's not the manager. And Liam, I can just imagine just like cat calling and hooting and he's calling the dugout constantly because he wants to be heard. That would be a funny little a triumvirate. I like that power trio. Better than what we have. Yes, I like it. Okay, let's wind this up to, I guess, somewhat, I don't know, boring or traditional. I just had to, as Joe was explaining his managers, I had to go back and read what I wrote to understand what my logic was that had Ricky Renteria returning and winning in this feat of strength. I don't know if it's just a sense of something unjust done to Ricky. The fact that this was the selection, which I think probably Rick Hahn would want to take back, maybe even the firing, if he knew it would lead to Tony La Russa a year ago being hired in Ricky's stead. The fact that Tony La Russa was hired for reasons, I guess, having to do with being a wizard of the bullpen or a pitching staff. He invented closers or whatever. And that maybe not coming to pass, and him maybe actually not even doing as well as Ricky Renteria with the bullpen. Or maybe you just need to, because I'm not buying this thing about the clubhouse being tight and happy to whatever degree. Players are still players and management's management. Tony made it very clear, who he's got an office. The rest of the players have lockers. What a jackass. So, it makes it clear that he's like a different dude. So I'm sure in the clubhouse is still healthy and fun and supportive, but it isn't. And maybe for better. Maybe Ricky was a little too fatherly to these guys. Maybe that was part of the reason why he was let go. We still don't really know why. I don't think it's because he was hunched over in the dugout of Game 3 of the playoffs in 2020. I don't think so. That seems pretty stupid reason to fire somebody, but maybe my thought is to sort of cancel out, to offset the weirdness, as Joe alluded, the Yermin Mercedes weirdness, where you've got the biggest stance taken by your current manager is a stance against your own player and a guy who hadn't quite crashed yet. He was in the process perhaps of cooling off and the league catching up with him, but he wasn't there yet. I don't think. And so I don't think it helped. And then I think to wind things up, batting ninth, I think Hamster had, of course. Ozzie I like that both of the color people from the post-game show have somehow got their way into the fray here, and they are going to participate in the feats of strength. And Ozzie, he's chomping at the bit. The guy thinks he deserves to manage. He probably thinks he deserves to manage the White Sox. I feel slighted. He felt, I think, that he deserved to have a lifetime contract. I was doing the beat writing for that outlet that employs Ozzie now. At the time that he talked himself out of a job, he says now he was very hurt early in the season when he was sort of left. He was going to be left as a lame duck, like with still a year, almost 2 years on his contract. That's not really how I think lame duck works, but he thought so. And then the team battled back to, I think at the start of September, about 500 finally. The all-in White Sox, they were supposed to run away with the division or at least compete for one. Got to 500 and immediately, Ozzie said he was angry. He didn't have more money for an extension. Yeah, this is going to go well. A bold call there in the number 9 slot, but also not inconceivable because there is a meat-headery quotient out there who would make this guy number 1 choice. And in fact, in our polling, Joe, you're polling second. I think 20% was the last thing I saw. Not getting a lot of votes on this one compared to Soxivus number one, but Ozzy, yes, he is not running away with it, but Ozzy is leading in terms of what people prefer, even more than other. It's Ozzy. Frightening. Guys, Ricky, Ozzy, no bloodshed.
Yeah, Ozzy is a little bit of a meme vote, I think, at this point. I think it's like funny enough to where people will vote for it. That would be entertaining. I will give it that. I mean, not in a good way, but it would certainly put the White Sox, kind of at the center of attention, at least for a little while.
Joe, it would finally place proper amount of importance on the run batted in. I don't think it's had enough importance in today's game. So finally, we'll get somebody who sees how important RBIs and RBIs only are. Probably also with Frank, but definitely with Ozzy, because for some reason, you'd think the guy would sort of like be behind the aspects of the game that sort of like he excelled at. But no, it's RBIs for Ozzy too. Well thought out. That's a guy that we probably don't need back in the dugout. Zach, your take on these final couple selections?
Yeah, man. I mean, Ozzy looks like he's having far too much fun on those pre and post game shows. A little to want to be back in the manager's office. That I will say, I think with the way that Tony was unceremoniously dropped on our heads, to put it one way, I think it does kind of get lost that Ricky wasn't exactly much of a pro analytics guy either. He wasn't he was still pretty old school in a lot of senses. Now he did things he shifted more than Tony. He did a lot of little things that Tony just totally, that's not, I guess that is the comparison we're making here, but Ricky was probably going to be gone either way. And he probably wasn't going to be the answer for the future either way. So I think it's not fair the way that he lost his job for Tony to swoop in. I don't think the optics of that are good, and I think it is systemically not very fair. But also, the nostalgia is not really there for me. But it's a low bar. I take him back in a heartbeat. To answer, I guess to really answer the question, like, I would take it back in a heartbeat. So my little piece about nostalgia aside, that's, as we can see, you can do a lot worse.
You're exactly right, Zach, because Ricky was old school. The one way he wasn't, maybe, I guess you could say this, is that he was a guy who did have that relationship with the players. He's sort of like, the players came up with him. They really love it. I would think if I was Ricky right now and I heard Tim Anderson talking about Tony La Russa the way Tim Anderson talked about me, I would actually be pretty hurt. I mean, because I think, well, wait, first of all, just the amount of time we had together, much less I had to be a different figure to you than Tony La Russa. That would actually sort of tick me off. I'm sure he doesn't care. He's still getting paid to make ceviche right now. Who knows how many more years? Apparently he had an extension that was someone healthy. So he's getting paid, I think, beyond even this year. But I mean, you're right to point out. I mean, there's no glow of like, oh yeah, he was really, he was advanced. They wouldn't have sent out the release with AJ Hinch's signature if they were leaning toward, if Rick Hahn was leaning toward, where's the next old school guy I can get who's not Ricky.
Which at the same time, I will be a little more fair and say that I think you're right. The personality management is important. I think in some circumstances, it's probably more important than your actual tactical decisions. And yeah, that's we lost out on two phases of the game, to put it one way, the people managing and the tactical management. If Ricky might not have been so awesome on the tactical management, but he was definitely good on the people management. So we've seen what some of the alternatives are. So it's hard to not miss that a little bit.
And not at all to relegate 800 podcasts of last off season. But here's the thing: you can say AJ Hinch leaves a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth. What he's done in Detroit, the team was good. What he did with them, his attitude toward the media is creepy and sick for this young, like, whatever, hip analytics guy, lame. He's not, I don't want him either. The problem is there's like 1,000 choices in between Tony La Russa, Ricky Renneria, Lou Piniella, Hawk Harrelson, and AJ Hinch. And we didn't talk to any of them except Willie Harris. We did talk to Willie Harris. Somehow Willie Harris didn't get the job. Go figure. This is phase 2, dear listeners, readers, and Southside Sox office. This is phase 2 of Soxivus. There is more to come. Now, I've been hearing the strange buzz from Tommy. He didn't show up to actually defend himself and speak on this, but Jackie and him were discussing some Soxivus poll or Soxivus miracles. I don't know what that's about. That could well be developing as we speak. I don't know yet. I don't know everything that goes on with this site. A lot of stuff happens and I say, wow, look at that. That showed up. Pretty cool. Hey, all right. I like it. It was a good read. But I do know that we will say an extension of the Soxivus holiday will be something we have done in the past. This isn't new. And this isn't a Tommy Barbee kind of blue production, is our favorite games of the year, our least favorite games of the year. We've done that with Southside Hitman. We're going to do it this year with Southside Sox. Now, I don't know if it leaps ahead of Soxivus poll or Soxivus miracles or whatever other Soxivus thing Tommy decides to come up with, or Jackie. But at least those 2 things are coming. I can't speak to the other Soxivus. I mean, I'm not religious enough to know all the customs. So people are going to have to be patient with me and explain in language I can very, very easily understand. But who knows? We could have still a month. We could literally almost take ourselves to the Kwanzaa and Hanukkah and Christmas and pagan Christmas season with our extended Soxivus holiday. And guys, I hope you've participated so far. And I hope whatever I decide to throw at you, say in the next day or 2, you'll decide to seize on as well, because your entries have been entertaining and it's been great participation from both of you and many of our other writers. Thank you.
My pleasure.
I promise there will be less violence in my miracle.
I want you to work a bat rack in. You got to work a bat rack in, Zach, somehow.
It's the closest approximation to an oak tree. I don't know if I'll need an oak tree in my next analogy, but
true.
Hey, remains to be seen.
Who knows? Maybe there'll be like a Wonder Boy forged out of a fallen tree or something. I don't know. If it's a Soxivus miracle, who's to say? Okay, everybody, thanks for being part of our little Soxivus celebration. Future Soxivus miracles. It's a Soxivus miracle. We even had this podcast. Number 69. We're going to conclude it now. I'm Brett Ballantini on behalf of Super Joseph Resis down there in Indianapolis, and Zach Hayes, he of the Oak Tree Bat Rack Tale. Please enjoy the rest of our Festivus programming. More is to come, so stay tuned. Thank you for listening and reading and sometimes even watching. We appreciate your attention, especially here in the off season when things get a little slow. We're going to keep throwing stuff at you. Hopefully you